know, calm down. We know you hate it. So I've been doing improv for about 3 years now, and one thing that I love about it is that it enables me to exercise my unhealthy emotions in a healthy way and to help me figure out why I feel that way in the first place. One game I love in particular for this exact reason is called Rant. What happens in Rant is that you choose a subject and you rant about it, and then each person comes up and they can either stick to the subject at hand or they can take something that the last person said and use it to change the subject altogether. The way you switch players is by interrupting the person currently ranting by yelling out the phrase, "You know what I hate?" and then the audience, assuming you have an audience, responds with a nice and loud, "What?" Why am I explaining all this to you? Well, I have a test tomorrow and I'm in a really bad mood that needs to change like stat, and in order to do that I'm going to play a one-man game of Rant, and I'm going to film it because if I didn't film it, that would be weird, right? Don't answer that. Alright, the subject is test, and ready, go. You know what I hate? Tests. I study and study and study, and then half the test is dedicated to stuff that we barely talked about in class. You know what I hate? When people say they're bad at taking tests. Like, really? Okay, so you're bad at knowing stuff? You know what I hate? When people say they're not being good at tests means you're dumb. No, I probably understand the subject matter better than half the class, but it doesn't mean I can recall random facts. You know what I hate? Facts, especially on tests where the teacher can present them in any way that she wants, even if it means putting them in a totally different context than we. You know what I love? Context, especially when it comes to papers, because it enables me to use my knowledge as well as demonstrate the extent of my understanding about. Well, you know what I hate? The fact that you don't really have to understand what's on the test to actually get a good grade on the test. So like some kid in the class who like doesn't understand anything can get a better grade than me somehow. You know what I hate? When people think grades are directly reflexive of intelligence. You know what I hate? When people say that grades don't matter just so they don't have to put forth their full effort in a class that I'm totally. But you know what I hate? When people make school their whole life and then judge other people for like having a social life, or I don't know, taking them to sleep for more than 4 hours each night. You know what I hate? Sleep. It's such a waste of time, and yet when I don't get enough of it I can barely function well enough to do like. You know what I hate? Being tired, because being tired for me always leads to this downward spiral where I wake up for my 8:30 class but then somehow nap through the one at 12:30. You know what I hate? The fact that I can't freaking take naps. Like, unless I know that I have like 4 or 5 hours of sleep, all I'm doing was just laying there thinking about how much time I have left before I have to wake up. You know what I hate? When people say that time is just a human construct. It's like, oh really? You want to get together and discuss that? Yes, what time would you like to meet? You know what I hate? Human constructs, especially when it comes to philosophical ideals about human nature, when people ignore the evidence of history and yet claim to understand it all. You know who I hate? Rousseau. He claimed to be a Calvinist and yet he didn't believe in original sin. That's like being a mathematician and not believing in numbers. You know what I hate? When people label themselves as something just because it's politically correct when really they have no idea what that means or even why. You know who I hate? Feminists. Or just, you know who I hate? Women. You know who I hate? Myself, and the fact that I just get so anxious about everything. You know what I hate? Anxiety. It doesn't help with anything. It just makes you feel. You know what I hate? Anxiety sweat, especially when you're trying to take a test and you're trying to grip your pencil but you can't hold onto it, so you have to hold it so tight that your hand just starts to hurt. And you know what I hate? Scantrons. Like, really, in this age of technology you still need me to use a number 2 pencil. You know what I hate? Taking tests. Alright, I think that's enough of that. I don't know about you, but I feel much better. So what drives you crazy enough and makes you need to blow off some steam, or better yet, what would you have added to my rant? Feel free to leave your stories and answers in the comment section down below. And while you're at it, take a minute to thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and if you liked it well enough that you'd like a little bit more me in your life, why not subscribe? Because telling stories and making friends, I mean, that's what the internet's for, right? If you couldn't understand everything that I said, I will put a transcript of my rant down below. I was just kind of... I was ranting. I would think I ranted properly, I just didn't YouTube properly. I'm trying to bring 2 different mediums together. That might not work.